love. It's ultimately finding different ways to share the love of Christ, and the internet provides us a great opportunity to do that. So why is digital media so important? Now, this image will seem quite familiar to you guys. A lot of times in society that we live in, people seem more connected to their devices, more connected to the computers than they are sometimes to the people next to them. So increasingly, in order to reach people, in order to connect with people, the best place to reach them is online. So how digital helps us meet needs? Now, just to put this into perspective, I mean, you guys all probably have an idea of this, that digital is huge. So almost 60 million of us in the UK use the internet. In the UK, people spend on average 4.5 hours a day on the internet. And 60% of the UK population almost have an active social media account. So we connect over our interests, and our differences become obsolete. There are barriers to people walking into churches on a Sunday morning. Miriam shared it. People that would never walk into your church building will interact with you online because it's about an interest. And if you say something on social media and you connect with them and it resonates with them, they will follow you, connect with you, and your belief system, isn't a barrier in the same way that it can be in the real world. And especially this younger generation, if we want to connect with this younger generation, often that's the best way to find them. And they are so transparent and open, and you get insights to really who they are in a way that sometimes is difficult to get elsewhere. So in a nutshell, if you want to have impact, you have to be present. And I guess you all know that, that's why you're here. You have to be present on the internet. So here are my 12 tips to help you create a bigger church. So prepare for church growth. If you want to get somewhere, you have to plan to get there. Chances are you're not going to get there by accident. So the first thing you need to do is prepare for growth. So what do you want the internet to help you achieve? What part of your mission is it that you think digital media, the internet, social media can help you with? Do you want to connect with a particular group? Do you want to build community online? Do you want to use it to provide encouragement? Do you want to collaborate with other Christians? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Really search your heart and ask God, what is it? What part of your mission could social media, could the internet, could your website help you achieve? Because your why will always determine the what. Until you understand why you're on the internet, why you want to engage in social media, why you want a website, it's going to be very difficult for you to decide and know actually what you should be doing. And so, like I said, what part of your mission could the internet help you with? And you want to keep it really simple, because typically the more complicated our plans are, is the less likely they are to be implemented. So keep it really simple, and this is a really basic template. So what type of content do you want to share? Do you want to share insights from your services? Do you want to share sermons? Do you want to share pictures? What type of content is it that you want to share? What method of communication? A lot of times we think of, it's just a website, it's just social media, but there's so many other avenues. People forget email. Now, I love email, it's very traditional, but it's not so much sometimes the method, but the way you use it. So things like email, what methods do you want to use? And really highlight, which ones you do want to focus on. And the frequency. Now, this is very important because you can have the best laid plans in the world, but if you don't have the resources to implement it, then it's going to be quite tricky for you to do. So think realistically, what can you manage? Do you want to start posting weekly, monthly, how frequently? And always refer back to your why. So your what, your how, and your when should always be directly linked to the why you're doing this. Never lose sight of that mission, that goal that God has given you. Never lose sight of that purpose and your overall objectives. And it's not one-size-fits-all communication. So we developed a little model called the church marketing funnel. And it's all about communicating with people according to where you are in the relationship with them. Now, we all have a network of relationships, a network of friendships. And you communicate differently with people based on whether you've known them a week, a month, a year. You communicate with them based on your relationship. Have you noticed that when you start building your website and thinking about content or posting on social media, that very rarely occurs to people? And so if you want to connect with people, you have to talk to them. Yes, social media and the internet is a vast landscape, but you're still talking to people on a very personal level. So you should have communication and content that reaches people depending on the relationship they are with you. So, at the top is your broad-based communication. So the communication that is, targeted at people that don't really know you well. So things like, your About Us page, general information that you might tweet about who you are and what you do. But as you go down and as the relationship progresses, you want to draw those people in and you want to nurture those relationships and take them a little bit further. So then you want to have information, content that inspires people. So you might then start having videos where you tell people a bit more, where you give them a little bit more insight into who you are, information and content that inspires them. So they go from, okay, knowing about you, so maybe when you get to the inspiring content, they start paying attention to what it is that you're doing. Then at that point, you want to engage with them. So it's great to have 1 million people that follow you. It's great to have, 10,000 followers on Facebook, but how many of them are actually engaged with you? How many of them are interacting with you? And that's where you have this type of content here. So you want to engage people directly, get them to take minor actions. So that's where you might have call to actions on your website. You might say, visit our church this Sunday, or you might send out tweets of that nature, or why not sign up for our newsletter, or something that allows you to take that relationship a little bit further. And then you really want to connect with them. So once you've got that information, what do you want to do? That's normally a good place to take the relationship online. For example, maybe this is the point where someone goes from following you visiting you on your social media accounts to actually turning up on your church on Sunday. And at the bottom, this is where you nurture, because when those people are in relationship with you, it's not the end there. If you have a church, these are your congregation members. These are the people that, come and they're already supporters of you, they already love engaging with you. Don't forget those people, nurture them. And that's where you do things like you have training courses and you're teaching people to become fishers of men. It goes back to your mission. In the first place, when you started, what did you want to achieve? Because by the time you get to the bottom, you should be nurturing, you should be seeing some results that should be happening. And listen, in Proverbs it says that, a wise man listens. He listens more than he speaks. And it's important that before you jump into social media, before you jump into the social media landscape, you're listening to what's going on. Because every social media channel has a different tone of voice. Listen to what's going on in your target group. It goes back to your plan. So once you've decided, okay, maybe it's young people that you want to target, get on Twitter. Tune into some hashtags, like PremDAC, for example. There's tons, millions of hashtags around views. Find out what the conversation is before you start jumping in. So what issues are on people's hearts? I said to you a few slides ago that young people in particular are more transparent. There's something about the internet that kind of shields us. It makes us a little more honest. It's funny because, before you get into social media, you think, well, gosh, you're sharing everything for the whole world to see. But once you're on social media, there's a freedom that comes from it. And people begin to share. And you begin to see, if you listen close enough, you'll see what's on people's hearts. Where can you help and add value? So it's not always about, what can you achieve from social media. Yes, ultimately it's about your mission, but, the key to, like we said, the key to church growth is helping people. So where can you actually help people? Where can you add value? What social media channels resonate with you? I just told you a few moments ago that every social media channel has a voice. And there'll be certain, when you begin listening, you'll see, and there'll be one or two that maybe resonate with you and you really connect with. So I'm going to take you through very briefly some of these social media channels. And if you can give me a show of hands, how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, most of you, yeah. So this is the biggest. But if you are an organization or a church, you need a page. Increasingly, because of the sheer volume of Facebook, in order for your page to get traction, you may have experienced this, increasingly you have to advertise. So it can be difficult to really resonate without paying for advertising increasingly. With your personal Facebook page, it's slightly different. But if you have a business page or an organization page, as you should if you are a church, it can be difficult to gain traction. How many of you are on Twitter? Okay, I love Twitter. But I'm a little bit biased. It resonates with me, I like it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's for you. So it's ideal for building online relationships, and you can see earlier on in the PremDAC feed, it said that, you know, we were one of the biggest users of the PremDAC 15 because I love it. It's, you know, I've been able to speak to people before the show, really engage with people and start talking to people, but it's very fast-paced. So you have to be present. And if you don't have the resources to really stay on top of it, it can be tricky. But the mobile app is great, so you can kind of tweet anywhere you are, and it's just 140 characters. I love it. And Instagram. How many of you are on Instagram? Okay, slightly less of you. Again, slightly younger audience. Number one for visual content. If you have some great photographers in your church, or even if not, if you just like pictures, or you want to connect with a younger audience in particular, definitely do think about Instagram. Again, Instagram's great because it's just easy to just, instead of reading, you can just scroll through and see pictures, and that connects. Visuals connect with people. It's that idea that a picture tells 1,000 words. And Periscope. How many of you have tried Periscope? Okay, yes, I'm a huge fan of Periscope and video. I mean, it's great for engaging because people ultimately, you'll know this, people connect with people, and there's something about video that seems real. It kind of makes you feel like you know people. And, you know, there's this whole wave about reality TV. You essentially have your reality TV show. I mean, we're all a little bit nosy. We like to know what's going on in people's lives, and people have a lot of preconceptions about the church. People have a lot of preconceptions of who we are, and so it's a great opportunity for you just to show people, you know, who we are, how we live, an insight into, you know, your life and what we do, and maybe during the devotional time, you know, when God maybe drops something in your spirit, and you no longer have to wait on a Sunday. You can say, wow, you know, and you can share those insights in real time. It's incredibly powerful. And Pinterest. Again, very similar to Instagram, but the demographic is slightly more affluent. It has a skew towards women as well. So if you have a women's ministry or something like that, it's definitely worth considering. I really like Pinterest. For me, I use it for visual brainstorming. If I have an idea or want to hash out ideas visually, I use Pinterest. So, you know, find out, have a listen. The ones that you haven't tried out already, try them and see which ones actually resonate with you. So use social media as a growth tool. So 90% of success is showing up. A lot of people say social media doesn't work for them. But how often do you show up? A lot of times it could be discouraging because you're tweeting, you're Facebooking, and you're not getting any engagement. It's like, just what's the point? But when people see your logo or when people see you constantly in their streams, repetition is a powerful thing, so stick with it and show up. And if it's not working or what you're doing isn't working, change it, but still stay on there and stay with it, because eventually, you know, something will give, it will break. Continuity and consistency are important. We're creatures of habit. You know, so be consistent, and that's where it goes into your frequency. What can you realistically manage? You know, if you decide, for example, you want to blog once a week, as far as possible, stick with it, because people get used to seeing you in their streams or seeing you online at those times. So, give your way to growth. The Bible tells us that there's nothing new under the sun. Giving has always been the route to growth, and that has never changed. In Luke 6:38, you will all be familiar with this, but it says, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you receive. So use social media as an act of giving. So what can you give? You can give encouragement. You can give advice. You can give knowledge. You can give resources. You know, if you feel led in your heart to do a free promotion or, you know, do that. But think about ways that you can give on social media. Because social media works through reciprocity. The more you give is the more you receive. It amazes me when I read the Bible and it literally has advice for everything. And I've just gone ahead of myself. So, you can give advice. You can give encouragement. You can show empathy. So empathy is a powerful thing. You know, let people know that you understand, you get it, you're with them. Because the worst thing is when people are just talking to you and you're really not feeling that they really care. They're just spouting out words because that's what they do. So empathize, show people that you care. And you know, the tragic events of yesterday are just so awful, but just how to see the solidarity of the Christian community. To be up at 2 o'clock this morning and already see, as soon as that news hit, churches, organizations saying, pray for Paris, pray for Paris, pray for Paris. And for our unsaved friends and relatives to be able to see that when we tweet that, you know, you may not share our views, but we care. And social media is a great way to show empathy. Invest the time. Nothing in life is for free. Yes, the gospel is free, but even that it takes money and resources to preach. So you need to invest time. If you're really serious about growing your church and using the internet as a resource, you need to invest the time. There's no shortcuts. And like I said, resources, you know, our churches have so many resources that are of value to the world, things that the world needs. They may never come into our bookshops. They may never download a sermon, but you can tweet it. You can use Periscope to tweet excerpts. You know, we can get those resources to them in a way that they'll receive it. Sometimes it's not what you're giving that they're resisting, it's the way we're sharing it. Participate. So, how many of you know what a hashtag is? Okay. So a hashtag is just like PremDAC 15. It consolidates conversations effectively. So whatever topic you're interested in, chances are there's a hashtag for it. So a lot of times we jump into social media and we start our own conversations when there's already conversations going on. There's nothing wrong with starting your own conversation at all, but there's a lot that's already going on. Tap into those conversations, participate, get involved in what's going on. How many of you have ever joined a Twitter chat? Okay. So Twitter chats are essentially, there's a set time every week, there will be a chat online. Again, there'll be a social media, there'll be a hashtag. One that is US, but it's called SM chat or CMS chat, church social media chat, forgive me, I don't remember that actual hashtag. But the point is, at a given time, there's a chat that happens, and thousands of people from all over the globe, sometimes hundreds, join that conversation and things like that. You can join those conversations and just, you know, it's the whole thing about reciprocity. So connect online with people online. Connect online with people offline. So online, the internet isn't an abandonment of what we've been doing for years. It's not an abandonment of things like brochures and, you know, just all the traditional things that we do. It's about joining the two to increase the impact. So the first thing you can do, I know sometimes it can be a case, okay, well, who do I connect with online? Connect with the people you already know first, and then go from there. Twitter has a great recommendation tool of similar, in fact, all of the social media sites that I spoke about today have great recommendations. So once you start following people, they will make recommendations based on who you are following. Start conversations and always respond. So yes, start conversations. Do start talking to people. So it's not always about broadcasting information, but ask people. Sometimes in the morning we'll tweet good morning and we'll tweet a scripture. It's about being sociable. The same etiquette that applies offline also applies online. It's still engaging and talking to people. And always respond. In the same way that if someone talks to you or sends you an email or anything, in the real world, it would be rude not to respond, and we wouldn't even dream of it. But sometimes when people send you an reply or tweet something, sometimes we ignore them, and that's bad social etiquette. So always respond to people. And include links to social media on all your communication. So this goes back to blending the online with the offline. So on all your email signatures, things like that, on all your literature, anything that you send out that is communicating to audiences within your church and beyond, make sure that you're including your social media links on there. And join online events. So I've already spoken about this. So things like Twitter chats, and also tweet-ups. People, if you have a community online, sometimes they'll arrange to meet offline in a coffee shop or something. And promote other people's content. Again, all about reciprocity. And if you see something that resonates with you, share it. Get creative. Now, for me, this is all about expressing your church's unique identity. And, last year, when we came, there was something one of the speakers said, and Miriam also touched on it this morning. We are children of the Creator. Creativity is in us. It's part of our DNA. And that's all about expressing your DNA. It's expressing your uniqueness. Now, the Bible says that we're all members of one body. There's a certain position in the body of Christ that is assigned just for you. Bring your creativity out of that place, out of that position of, okay, God has positioned you for something very specific, and get creative with it. Behind the scenes content, I love this. It's that whole reality thing. People love reality TV shows. Walk from behind the scenes that you never show people. When pastors are preparing for their sermons, maybe, what happens before a church service, what happens after, things that people will never have visibility of. Share those things. And storytelling. Jesus was a master storyteller, and sometimes I think that we've forgotten the art. The Bible is a book of stories. Tell visual stories, tell verbal stories, write stories. We all have our stories to tell. Our ministries, our lives have a story to tell. People are interested in that story. Tell it. And like I've mentioned before, combine offline and online. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples in a minute that will really illustrate these points really well. And encourage your members to generate content ideas. Now, a lot of times you can think, well, it's our ministry, it can be left to the leadership to manage social media. I encourage you to get your congregations involved, get your youth involved, maybe have a week, a month, during Youth Service Sunday where youth take over social media. Okay, it might get a little bit crazy, so you might have to monitor it, but get creative, get your congregation to support you and generate ideas. You're not alone, and you'll be probably flabbergasted at how great the ideas are that they will often come up with. So here are some examples. If you want to know how to do digital well, yes, come to places like this, but if you want an example, Life Church is a great example. But again, they're occupying their position in the body. So yes, use it and let it inspire you, but what does it bring out in you? How can you do something similar? And this is very simple, and I love it. It's just a baptism. I mean, there's nothing intrinsically creative about it, but just the way they've presented it, the t-shirts, meet the new me, and just the visuals are so impactful. And again, many people, sometimes we think creativity has to be wild and wonderful. It doesn't. Just a simple thing is, how many of us just maybe send a tweet saying, join us on Sunday service times. And here is something very unique. He looks so approachable, and it says, I was invited to New Spring back in 2009 by Josh Cooper, met Jesus. Who are you inviting? How much more powerful is that? than just sending out a tweet, come and meet us, come to our church service on Sunday. There are things like that. It doesn't have to be genius, you know, but creativity can come from the simplest of things. And again here, something from a lesson, maybe a children's church lesson. And we all know the verse about, you know, life and death are in the power of the tongue and the importance of taming the tongue. And instead of just tweeting the scripture, they tweet visuals, the visuals from, you know, maybe a children's church, kids' church session. And again, the idea of telling stories. So instead of having notices, it's a stream of stories. Well, they do still have notices, but they're incorporating the idea of storytelling and using video for announcements. And the Sabbath Sofa, a winner of the Premier Digital Award last year, one of the awards last year. And I love this. It's a great example of combining the online and the offline. So they go around whatever area they're in, and they encourage people to take the Sabbath. So take some time out to relax. And they take their sofa, and while they're doing that in the streets, they're videoing that, and then they're sharing on social media. And I just love the combination of offline and online. And again, one of my favourite social media campaigns by a Christian organisation was the 40 Acts campaign. Anybody familiar with this? I loved it. And over 40 days leading up, 40 days of Lent, it was encouraging people to give generously. And every day there was a different thing that you could do, a different suggestion, and you received emails, and there were social media updates, and there was a countdown every day. And what was beautiful about this is it wasn't just online, it was a whole host of communication. It was email, it was social media, it was on the website, it was just a whole ecosystem of communication. It was beautiful. And the impact, again, it was just about the heart of giving and generosity, and incredibly powerful. And I do believe they also won an award, a Premier Digital Award last year. And back to what I said a few slides ago, what's your story? Because we all have one to tell. And people are interested in it. People want to hear your story, the story of your ministry. How was it birthed? You know, what unique position in the kingdom of God has God assigned you to? What is your story? Share it. And share it in a way that's unique to you. It doesn't matter if you've never seen it before. You know, we're Father of the Creator. He's forever birthing things in us that the world has never seen before. That, you know, sometimes you might think it's a little crazy or a little bit out there. You know, flow with it. Flow with the Holy Spirit. Ask Him for His leading. So use your website as a growth tool. Make it attractive. Now, this might seem, sometimes we think of things like, you know, aesthetics is not really important, but people care about the way things look. And it's important that sometimes a bad looking website can be a barrier to great content. Don't let the way you present yourself online hinder people from receiving what it is that you have to give. Invest in having a good-looking website. Here are some that we've created, not to say that these are the only ways to create great-looking websites, but just, you know, create good-looking, quality websites. Put your website to work. Your website shouldn't just look great, it should function. You know, and I know there's a lot of people that have websites, and you get a website created, it's like, okay, well, what now? So I have a place on the web, but what is it doing for my ministry really? Your website should really be working for you. So update your website regularly. So this is important. This is why I always recommend having a blog on your website, because it's an easy way to update it regularly. Google loves fresh content. And it's not just about, your website is your home on the web, so all roads should lead back to your website. However, you know, you need to update it. You need to update it regularly. Lost my train of thought. The point I was trying to make is that Google ranks websites higher that have regularly updated content. So if you want to show up on the web beyond your website, then you need to update it regularly. Make your sermons available. So this is another easy way to update your website regularly. So a lot of churches print CDs, but move that to digital form. There's some great resources that are very affordably priced that enable you to do that. So make your sermons available online. Allow user-generated content. So if you have a blog, for example, allow comments, allow people to engage. You know, collect information. Sometimes if video your youth service or a women's event, or allow your members to generate content. It's that whole idea is that the responsibility for your web presence isn't entirely on you. Allow them to help and support and assist you and give you some of their ideas and some of that content. And provide resources. So sometimes the web is just easy for a lot of people. You know, and it's available 24/7. So if you do sell resources, series of sermon series or books or anything like that, make those available online. It is more convenient for people. Yes, do have your online bookshop as well, but you know, that whole idea is put your website to work. It should be serving your ministry. And share news. People love good news. So share your latest news, what's going on in your church, what you're doing in the community, what events are happening, and facilitate online giving. Yes, a lot of us, or all churches typically still have, you know, paper envelopes and things like that. Don't stop doing that, of course not. But facilitate online giving so that if people maybe don't attend a service or just want an easier way to give, that your website facilitates that. And enable e-commerce. So this is about, you know, selling resources online. So the same type of thing as online shopping and making your resources available. And collect data. So many people know who their church visitors are, but not many people know who visit them on the web. So collect data, find out who is visiting your website, so name, email addresses, so that you have a means of communicating with them when they leave your site. And get to know your website visitors. So as I just mentioned, most of us know who visit our churches, but few know who visit us online. So collecting data can be a way to do that. So find out who your visitors are. Collect guest information. What information might they want to find? So think about who might be visiting your website and what might they be looking for. I haven't delved into this in the presentation just because I don't have the time to, but Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics behind your website, look into it. It will give you a whole host of data. It's completely free. And build a web presence, not just the website. That is what we're all about. So your website is your home on the web. All roads should lead to your website, but it's about building a web presence. And your website can only do so much. So have online events. So how many of you are familiar with Google+? Okay, great. So Google Hangouts, for example, it's Google's video platform, allows you to have events online. So maybe you might have an online Bible study or things like that. Social media, build your social media presence. Utilize email, as I mentioned earlier. And have podcasts, so that's just essentially audio versions of content. And blog. And consider SEO. Again, the scope of this session doesn't allow us to go into it, but search engine optimization, we touched on it briefly when I spoke about updating your content regularly. You want your websites to be showing up in Google rankings. And another thing in terms of search engine optimization is get yourself listed in directories. So Yahoo has a directory, Google Maps is a directory, so that you're showing up on the web in various places. And lastly, we're here to help. We exist to help. Everything I've spoken to you about today and more is what we exist to do. So we don't just want to build websites for people. We want to help them build a web presence and assist them in that process so that they can create impact online and spread the word of Christ and the love of Christ further. So in terms of what we offer a range of website packages. A lot of people we speak to, there's a barrier to getting a good quality website is cost, so we've completely eliminated that. We don't charge initial fees, and you can get online for a very affordable price. In fact, our brochures, our flyers are in your packs, and whatever you want to do online, there is a package for it. And we've also launched an online course, actually today. How this came about is for the last 12 weeks, I've been writing a blog post on the Premier Digital blog called The Building Blocks of Your Web Presence. It's still there, you can go and have a look on them. And as I was writing each week, it was kind of like, well, this is great, and there's some good tips here, but it's impossible for me to compile 10 years of experience into 12 blog posts. It's impossible for me to give everything that I would love to give you in those blog posts or in this session, so I decided to develop an online course to do it. And it's essentially covers everything I've spoken about and more today: content, social media. And it's a 12-week course because for me it's important that we don't just build websites and leave you. So I want to build a relationship with the people that we work with. So it's 12 weeks and the sessions are online, interactive, so you can join from the convenience of your home, and then you can try things and come back and ask me questions and things like that. So we're building a relationship over a period of time. And again, the flyers in your packs, you can see details of that there. So it starts in January the 11th, so you can really kickstart your online efforts for 2016. So where to find us today? We do have a stand where the coffees are, so you can come and talk to us. Myself and also my husband is here, who's a phenomenal web developer. You can come and talk to us. We're also doing the digital surgeries from 3:15 to 4:30 in the lower sugar room, and we will be at the awards tonight if you are there. And if you see us anywhere today, do pick our brains because we're here for you. We're here to help you. So ask us any questions you'd like. We're here. And where to find us online? So on Twitter, you can find us at @SameVine. You can find us on Facebook also, #SameVine. Our website is www.samevine.co.uk, and you can even email me personally. I will respond to you personally in a timely fashion. So many ways to connect with us there. So thank you so much for listening. It really has been an honor speaking to you today. God bless you, and I hope you enjoy the conference. It was phenomenal last year, and I believe it will be even better this year. God bless you.